A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran.
The US and Israel have launched an attack on Iran. Their strikes have killed Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching the news recently, you'll know that Iran's Supreme Commander Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has been killed. And Iran has promised that the world's most cruelest, oppressive and brutalist war will arise. But the question is, why did US and Israel target Iran's Supreme Commander? And why is Iran responding by targeting Middle East countries rather than Israel and US itself? And why is the world closer to World War now than ever? So you see, recently the International Atomic Energy Agency had released a document in which it stated that Iran possibly has a nuclear weapon. Basically, it meant that Iran has a nuclear enrichment of more than 60%, which straightforwardly meant that the country is preparing a nuclear weapon. But Iran possessing a nuclear weapon was not acceptable by majority of the countries, because you see, the major reason Israel attacked Iran was because even without a nuclear weapon, Iran has funded major terrorist groups across Israel like the Hamas, militants, etc. And that was not acceptable by Israel, because for as long as 40 years, Israel has been a red alert under Iran. In fact, Iran's Supreme Commander Ayatollah Ali Khamenei said himself that Israel is a country that does not deserve to be existing. And throughout history, you can see in 2007, Israel itself targeted and attacked Syria's nuclear weapon plant. It basically meant that no country is supposed to possess a nuclear weapon which could become a threat for me. Even North Korea and Pakistan possesses a nuclear weapon, but Iran cannot possess, because while other countries can use the nuclear weapon for their defense purposes, Iran would use nuclear weapons simply to erase Israel from the geopolitical map. So you see, Iran's missiles could take less than 8 minutes to Israel, and that would entirely wipe out the country, because it's such a small country. And that is one of the major reasons why Israel targeted Iran. But now the question is, while Israel targeted Iran, so when Israel targeted Iran for safety purposes, what was US doing in the middle of all this? Why did US President Trump also attack Iran?
That this terrorist regime can never have a nuclear weapon. I'll say it again. They can never have a nuclear weapon.
So you see, basically, Iran controls a strait called the Strait of Hormuz, which is just 22 kilometers wide, but it is one of the most important trading centers of the world, because the world's 20% of daily use crude oil passes through this strait. And if Iran possesses a nuclear weapon, it could become so powerful that not even America could step in and do anything to the Strait of Hormuz. So that is also one of the reasons why America targeted Iran. And if Iran possesses a nuclear weapon, it would simply mean that the entire of Middle East would also start a race to possess a nuclear weapon to save itself from Iran. So that was a major reason why America and Israel teamed up together to kill Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, because if the decision maker himself is not there, then that would basically mean there would be no nuclear weapon, there would be no nuclear threats. So if you see, Iran is not bombing US or Israel directly. Rather, Iran is attacking the Middle East countries who have been close friends with US. So this basically means that if Iran targeted these countries, then their tourism and business would be affected. And if they are affected, then that would basically mean these countries would pressurize the US to stop this war, as their tourism, their business and their economy is under crisis. So that is also one of the reasons why Iran is targeting these Middle East countries rather than targeting US and Israel itself. And by targeting the Middle East countries, Iran has shown, and so if you see, Iran is not bombing US or Israel directly. Rather, Iran is attacking the Middle East countries who have been close friends with US. So this basically means that if Iran targeted these countries, then their tourism and business would be affected. And if they are affected, then that would basically mean these countries would pressurize the US to stop this war, as their tourism, their business and their economy is under crisis. So that is also one of the reasons why Iran is targeting these Middle East countries rather than targeting US and Israel itself. And one of the most interesting facts is that if you look into history, the most thickest friendships to exist between the countries in the 90s was between USA and Iran. Yes, the countries which are clashing against each other right now, the countries which would possibly start a World War III, were one of the most thickest friends, so thick that Iranian states would literally look like US cities. But the question is, what changed such a thick friends to clash against each other now? What changed such a thick friends to be the possible starting point of a World War III? Well, it all started with a party and it all ended in a party. How exactly? But that's a topic for a next video. So my dear friends, to conclude this video, we hope that both the nations and all the nations which are concerned in this war will sit down diplomatically and talk rather than fighting against each other, because the war has lasted for more than a week and it could cause serious concerns to you and me as commoners, because hyperinflation with oil rates are not very good for the economy. And also, we will hope and pray that Russia and China will not include and will not step in this war, because if they come in, my dear friends, nobody can stop a World War III.